Hey everyone, it's Rylis Productions. I'm doing a axle seal replacement here on the Cuda. Just got back from Sonoma and we found out that the driver's side axle was leaking. When we checked the wheel, this is our tire, the axle here. There was a leak of the axle fluid onto the wheel itself, so the other side isn't like this. There's no splatter. We thought it was brake fluid at first, but it's actually axle seal or fluid because it was black. So we're in the middle of replacing the axle seals on the Cuda. Already took out the axle here from the driver's side, and it's 30 inches long, stocky body length. I'm just going to show you guys. We have a Dr. Diff rear disc brake setup, and we already installed the gaskets, and we installed the seal already. Here's the old seal. It feels pretty good still, though the spring wire is still attached to it. So, but we use some Permatex gray as a little bit of silicone sealant around the seal itself. And we actually used a upper ball joint tool to drive it in. It's a great fit for it. Fits right in there. Just hit it with a hammer. It goes in pretty deep. So anyways, we'll get on with it. Here we are in the install of the axle. We used a syringe to lube up the tapered bearings. We used a tapered bearing because this is still the OEM original axle, and the tapered bearings are a lot stouter and stronger than the sealed green bearings, which is just a regular ball bearing. The tapered bearings are a lot stouter from the factory, better for road race use. We found out though that the adjuster, the threaded adjuster that we have here is stripped, so it can't going into the retaining plate when you try to adjust the lash of the axle. We called Dr. Diff about this issue, and he said it's a pretty common occurrence because the plate and then the adjuster here is made of really thin metal, and it strips very easily. So what he did is he made up some 3/8 thick billet adjusters and a retaining plate that's a lot thicker. He could have shipped those parts to us, but there's a process to take off the bearing collar correctly. You have to use a grinder or a chop saw to cut it down correctly, and we just don't have the capability to do that yet, and we don't trust the other shops around here locally. So we're just going to take the axles and ship them out to Cass and have him do it. We trust him anyways and rather give him our money. So in the meantime, there's all the tools that we use to pull the seal out. In the meantime, I'll take out the passenger side and see how that is. I'm sure it's fine. We'll show you how to disassemble a Dr. Diff disc brake assembly, and we'll pack these things up and ship them to Dr. Diff. Alright. Here we are on the passenger side of the Cuda, about to take the wheel off, and we'll get it done. So I just took off the wheel, and we'll inspect it. There's the axle on the passenger side. There's a wheel itself. As you can see, there's no splatter. There's no it's not gunky like on the other side. No splatter from this end of the axle, so the seal is pretty good, but we still have to pull the axle out just because Dr. Diff has to press in new bearings, so we'll get on that as well. So I jacked up the car and made sure it's stable, not going anywhere. Release the parking cable. This is this thing right there. Next step is to take off the brakes. Okay, so I took off the Dr. Diff rear Ford Cobra brake caliper off and set that aside. Dr. Diff made a bracket, an aluminum bracket for his kit, which works really good. It just adapts the Mustang brake caliper to the Mopar application because it's a 4.5 inch by 5 bolt pattern, so it fits. I modified it and used these extra beefy bolts, metric 10.9. The other bolts that Dr. Diff had supplied originally had an Allen socket at the top, and you couldn't really torque it down. These I torqued to 45, 50 foot-pounds, and I had one back out on me and wasn't great, but with these you can torque down, put some red Loctite, and it should be fine. So I'm going to take off the axle now. So the Dr. Diff kit uses these little 3/32 screws to hold the brake line onto the aluminum bracket. So you have to take these off with a little Allen wrench. And now's the moment of truth. I'm going to pull the axle, and I haven't pulled this side yet, so here goes. Oh, there he goes, pops right out. Oh shit. Let's get a drip pan. The axle housing is drained of gear oil, so there shouldn't be anything dripping, but just in case. So here's the axle itself. The guys who installed this for me when I first had my brakes done, the shop installed all the gaskets wrong. This is it is incorrect, so I'm never gonna ever go to that shop again. That's why I do my own wrenching now, just because I know I can only blame myself if I do a bad job. But here's the axle. Still pretty good condition. Yeah, see the splines are still pristine. Okay, let's check out the gaskets. See, the bearings are still good. Let's hold them up. Let me take the bracket out. Open a bracket. So here's the bearings. This side doesn't have a retaining plate or an adjuster, so it's pretty caught up in there. But bearings look good. They're not blued out. They still spin really freely. So I'm going to ship this all to Dr. Diff and have him replace these, just in case. These are probably the old 40-year-old bearings. I'll get some made in USA Timken bearings installed, and should be good for the track. So we're gonna do a measurement of our axles here for the Cuda. Like I said, these are 30 inches long. Cuda or Challenger. Here's the top portion, 31 at the spline. The neck down is 33. It tapers to a thicker measurement every so often. The main body here is 36 millimeter, and at the bottom bottom is 40 or 39.5. Let's get that in inches for you American types. 1.23 inches there at the spline. 1.31. Further down is 1.41 inch. The very bottom is 1.54. So there you have it. We'll get these boxed up and shipped out to Dr. Diff. So here we are. We're gonna knock out the old seal on this passenger side axle. I'll use a big ass chisel and a big hammer. Works great. You just hit it. Trick is to spin it around. You see there? Yank that fucker out. So this seal looks all gouged up. It's probably because of the end play. The adjuster ring wasn't on the other side and it gouged it all up. But surprisingly it didn't leak. So there you go. So here we are about to install the seal. Put some Permatex Ultra Gray on here. This stuff's great. I think it's made in US, assembled in US. That's what it says, USA. Hell yeah. This stuff's really high torque applications. It comes on really thick. It's hard to peel off once it dries and cures. I think this is the same stuff Honda Bond is made out of. It's just repackaged in Honda Bond. But we're gonna drive this in, get in there. The seal here. What I used was a upper ball joint tool. The width is pretty close to the seal itself, and just hammer away. Make sure it's in there. So there we go. We have the seal seated all the way in. I hit it a couple more times with the tool just to make sure it's seated. Yeah, it looks pretty in. So that should be all the way in. And then just to finish it off, just put a little extra silicone in there, just on the edge, just to make a complete seal. Probably doesn't need it, but whatever. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt either. So these are Dr. Diff's aluminum brackets for his rear brake kit. I had cleaned them up with some brake cleaner. They're all aluminum, and I just paint them just for corrosion protection. So I'm going to repaint them again. This is just a reference for me that this bracket is the passenger side. It goes like this with the screws on this side of the bracket, and this is the driver's side, which installs like this with the screws on the bottom side of the bracket. So there you go, and with the snap of my fingers they'll turn black. So that's it for this video. The axles are on their way to Dr. Diff to be
upgraded with his retainer and bearings and all that. So we'll continue this video when the axles come back, and we'll install them and go from there. Ooh, that's how a tire is supposed to be melted. Alright guys, Rylis Productions. See you later.